Thank you very much. And just to say thank you to everyone that's come into us this morning. I know from all of the institutions it's fantastic to show that mental health is so crucial. I'm on the Mental Health Committee here. It's a subcommittee of health in the Oireachtas, and it's the first time that this committee has been put in place. So we've had an opportunity to hear already as well, I suppose, on the educational side. I really appreciate that you've mentioned the bullying report that's been done here as part of the Education Committee. That was one of the first reports that we did here. I think that that's absolutely crucial around tackling the behaviours and attitudes around bullying. And we know that DCU as well, of course, has the UNESCO chair there, which has been absolutely phenomenal. And they're rolling out courses for secondary schools. But we need more as well around that in all walks of life. It doesn't just happen in one part of life. It happens at all times and all areas. I suppose just some of the points, if I might, just from your presentations, and I suppose some of the things that it would come across to me is obviously, yes, the anxiety and stress, and particularly with the COVID lockdown, and I suppose students having to deal with, who've now come into third level, who may not have had the normal last year or 2 years of secondary school. You've got students coming in maybe that didn't do a proper exam, who feel immense stress having to deal with an exam situation that they never had to deal with, that they didn't deal with because of the way everything that happened in the last 2 years. So I'm very conscious that the way that exams happen in colleges is probably could be one of the key issues that we need to sort of understand for that cohort that are coming in the last year to 2 years. I suppose I'm also very conscious that students also have to deal with family members or older family members and any sort of family loss as well over that period of time. That's great, thank you. Also, if I might, I think one of the few things that we've mentioned is that the impact of this sort of impact to mental health is dropouts for students. And I suppose one of the key things I know that I suppose Minister Harris, and one of the key things I want to see more is with the technological universities, and I know Tras, of course, that would be particularly your area there as well, but that the technological universities and the campuses that have been rolled out are so crucial to getting access in regional areas to third level, but also encouraging access to apprenticeships as another model and another way for students to reach degree level or PhD level. And that in some ways, like we've seen now in the CAO forms, for example, that we're going to have, that you can see the apprenticeships as well as the traditional courses into third level. They're even looking now at placements that'll be there this year, so that students and parents are going to have more choice when they look at those forms. But that we do need to speak more about students themselves understanding the options that are out there, and that there is a lot to be said about, I suppose, practical experience combined with the academic that may suit certain students more and still benefit. When you think of apprenticeships, you think of people that are nearly running their own businesses in a couple of years' time with the types of courses that they have. I might just ask a little bit, and I think, Barbara, it might have been yourself maybe that just mentioned about the Here and Dare programme. I'm particularly interested in that because around the delivering equality of opportunity, we've 1 in 4 schools now that are DESH schools that would have access to those Here and Dare programmes, and even in my own area, primary schools and secondary schools as well. I might just ask then as well for Trasa, and thank you for your detail, particularly around student counsellors and the 3 or 4 pillars there. I really appreciate that. And also, you mentioned in your survey, again, the fear around dropout of 1 in 3 students. Now, obviously, it's personal, family and financial concerns, but just if there was any more detail that you might have on that. And I suppose I know that, thank you as well, Patricia, you spoke very much about the promotion and you spoke about the anti-bullying and the efforts that need to be put into that. So I very much appreciate that as well. I suppose if I might ask you for those 2 or 3 answers, and I might just come in then if I have time at the end as well. Thank you. And also, just if I might, Trasa, the Together for All, sorry, that was the other one I just wanted to mention, the sort of 24/7 access that's been, I think, implemented this year, along with the 50808 sort of 24-hour text line number, but that you might just speak a little bit about that because it's just been launched. And maybe if any of the others wish to comment, just how are universities or students, how are you promoting that in universities and colleges as well? Thank you. Trasa, if you want to start maybe, and then Barbara maybe could go that line, and Patricia.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Just in relation to the 4 pillars, yeah, these are, I suppose, describe a comprehensive model if we were resourced to provide such a comprehensive model. Obviously, the most obvious one is the clinical services, the direct service that we provide in terms of one-to-one and group for students who attend with mental health difficulties. But there are others that are as important, I think. We had mention of the National Student Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Framework, and within that we talk about a whole campus approach.
Yeah.
And one of the themes, the 9 themes, and I was involved in the development of that, is around, and Barbara mentioned this, is about how do we resource and how do we support other people in the university structure to be able to identify students in need, maybe students at risk of dropout, and resource them and skill them, I suppose, to confidently and competently.
Staff as well.
Yeah.
And would you see, like, say, for example, DCU roll out the FUSE programme now to secondary schools? Like, is there some type of, equivalent of FUSE that's done in DCU for secondary schools that could be implemented for third level, for staffing at third level?
We're in the middle of developing one right now.
Fantastic.
The psychological counsellors in higher education that I'm chair of, we had an identifying and responding to distress and at-risk student training that was delivered by clinicians in person to university staff. I think it's run in UCD for a number of years.
Great, thank you.
The pandemic, of course, required us to go online, and we were lucky to receive some funding from the HEA to develop that. So that's in development at the moment. So there'll be a version online, open for all staff. There will be one hosted on the virtual learning environment, and the level 3 of that training is an in-person, and it does a much deeper dive into asking questions about risk and suicide.
Very good. And the Together for All then, I mean, student counsellors, has been additional budget allocated out, for, I suppose, student counsellors within university structures and third level structures, along with sort of psychologists and assistant psychologists. But how is the rollout of that going? Is that been promoted centrally through the department, or are universities taking a lead in how to promote that? Because that is, I suppose, you've mentioned that sometimes students don't speak. I'm not sure which person mentioned in their opening statement, sorry, Barbara, that students don't feel maybe comfortable. It's a different environment. You're going from sort of maybe more handheld environment in secondary school to third level, where you're supposed to be independent and you're out on your own. You're in these big lectures if you're doing arts or something like that, like I would have done. But how do you encourage students? So maybe this sort of text line service, online services, maybe these are ways to reach students at third level.
That's exactly why we, I suppose, scoped out last year. I suppose in response to what we were seeing as practitioners on the ground, the identification of loneliness and isolation that students were experiencing post-pandemic. A lot of them did not have that integrated experience that you've mentioned on campus.
Can I, sorry for interrupting, Tracy, because I just want to catch the others as well, but how are you doing it in your universities? How are you promoting it?
We launched yesterday in TUS. Different colleges have done their internal launches of Together All. The national launch was on the Mental Health Day on the 10th of October, and that was endorsed by Minister Simon Harris. So each college, each university is launching it at a time that they consider most effective. We're engaging with students.
Will it happen by the end of December for TIA colleges? Will it happen by the end of November or the end of December for your colleges?
Yeah, the expectation is that it'll be this semester for all.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Trasa. Barbara, I suppose, apologies, and I might have an opportunity to come in again at the end to allow you. But
very quickly, I respond to firstly just about examinations. Just say all higher education now look to diversification of assessment strategies. It's not just always. So I think we really understand. You just don't go into an exam hall. We have different strategies. So that's the first thing I might say about exams, to help students transition as one of the reasons. But it's also different styles of examining. In terms of here and there, the pathways into universities are acknowledged as a success if you come in through a pathway, but also you need to be supported as you transition in through those different pathways for continued success. So it's not enough to come into through an access pathway. Once you're in, then there needs to be supports put around you so that you continue and transition really, really well. I think that's something that the universities have done really, really well. And the other thing they're doing is embedding universal design principles into the curriculum and into design of our buildings, into the design of how we operate, so that we ensure a better success for all sorts of different students, not just the here and there, but different students come from different pathways, and design needs to be considered in that way.
And can I ask you, Barbara, as well, for IUA colleges, are they also launching Together for All, or how has that been managed in your universities?
Well, I haven't got an updating. Each university is doing that separately, and the registrars haven't met since we've launched that, so I haven't actually asked.
I just think that's a very important measure.
Absolutely, and I certainly know in UCD that we're engaging with that, and I know all of the universities see this as a really positive. Together All is a really positive thing, because a lot of students want to engage in things online themselves first before they may actually take the step to seek support by reaching out. And this is a platform that allows them it's peer-led platform platform, and it allows them to actually gain that support.
Would you be able to provide an update, perhaps both Trasa and yourself, maybe just on the timelines for the colleges to launch that strategy, maybe through the student councillors, or how it might be done, maybe within each of those universities, just for our information?
Yep.
Would be great. Sorry, and Trasa and Patricia, so I don't mean to hold up the time.
Just in relation to exams, we would be the same. We wouldn't concentrate on the terminal exam. I mean, there's a lot of research out there showing that like cortisol levels and are high, screeching IgA levels are low. But I mean, the elephant in the room is also the Leaving Cert. You know, I mean, that's a terminal exam that is causing so much mental health problems, and also affecting students' choice on where they want to go, whether it's further in higher education. And it's great that the apprenticeship and more work-based learning is coming in. But even in relation to the here and there, I mean, if we have students that want to come through the here and there to our colleges, because they're not entitled to the state funds in our colleges, and that again is another barrier for them. They may have enough CEO points to do law, for example, in Griffith College, not have enough CEO points to do it in Trinity or one of the other colleges.
In the publicly funded colleges.
Yes, but they might live down the road from Griffith College but still can't attend. You know, so that's an example. And the other thing, UDL, this is something that we'll be strongly supporting across our colleges as well. Yeah, that's...
Thank you so much, Patricia. I appreciate that.